Your favorite songs played beautifully at FM 104.5, KFOG, KFOG.
I moved to San Francisco in 1980 to take a job at the ABC FM station here. We went out of business, which we should have because we were a lousy radio station. And I was just thinking about, spend a summer on the beach, they say, and was just thinking about it's time to look for a job again. And then I got a call out of the blue from a guy I worked with years ago who said, did you hear the news? And I said, what? He said, KFOG's going rock. And I said, oh, great, just what this market needs, another rock and roll radio station. We had like 5 at that time. And he said, yeah, I'm running it. Do you want a job? I went, yes, just what this market needs, a good rock and roll radio station. So I came on with the original crew in September of '82. We started out very confused, but it's going to get a lot better. At 104.5 KFOG, started out with new music from the Stray Cats, not only a new tune, but attitude around here called Rock This Town. We heard from the Beatles, Tom Petty, Joe Jackson, and ended up with the Police. We are 104.5 KFOG, and my name is Dave Morey. I'm going to be doing 10 to 3 for the next 30 years or so, I hope. Anyway, stick around. It's going to be a genuine experience.
I worked at a freeform progressive underground FM radio station in the late 70s in Monterey, California. And I heard from a record rep that there was a new station in San Francisco run by a guy from Chicago named Dave Logan, and that it was going to be a progressive, big city rock and roll station, sort of to take up the banner and the torch of KSAN and KMPX, but it would be run successfully. So I applied immediately and got the coveted position of midnight overnight midnight weekender. And I thought I had arrived. I had totally arrived.
I was working at a station in Boulder, Colorado. Was originally from the Bay Area. My wife's a native San Franciscan, always wanted to get back here. Left Colorado, filled in doing news, and I don't know, Dave Morey and I kind of hit it off, and so when the previous news guy, Marshall Phillips, left, I was more than happy to come on full time.
I'd worked at another radio station for a few years, and then everybody got fired, and I was between jobs, and I worked at Slim's for a while. I was the backstage manager at Slim's, which basically meant fetching beer for bands, either bands on the way up or bands on the way down. And I saw an ad that KFOG needed a morning show producer, and I came over here and I met everyone, and it was a dream come true.
Before KFOG, I was working at an alternative station here in San Francisco, and to supplement my income, I started working at Metro Traffic. So I was an alternative DJ, and then I was doing traffic for Metro Traffic. And it turns out the Ticket 1050 is a sister station to KFOG, and it turns out they were looking for someone to join Dave Morey and Peter Finch and Irish Greg on the morning show. And I'd known Irish Greg from working at this alternative station, and submitted an application. I was like, you know what? KFOG's the dream station. That's like the ultimate goal. When I got into radio, I was like, those guys are it. They are top notch, and it would be cool to work there. And so that's how I came to join the KFOG morning show.
By the time I came to San Francisco, I had already been doing radio my whole life since I was a teenager, since college radio. In Boston, it was the only place I had ever done radio. And so when things kind of came to a colliding halt there, which happens when a company buys you out and you get let go, I didn't know where else to go because I never really thought of my life outside of Boston. And I had been to San Francisco once before, and I remember meeting these magical people, and they said things like, "You'll be back." And I just felt a certain connection with the place. So I had a one-way ticket, and the plane landed, and I had my cat Edith Piaf with me, and I had a short-term rental that I had gotten sight unseen, very limited money, part-time job. And the station I was working at was going to change formats, and I thought, oh, what if it's like sports talk or something I can't do? And there was an opening at KFOG that I heard about, so I started here part-time. And then, just when my phone was about to be turned off and I had no money to pay rent, somehow, miraculously, I got offered a full-time job.
The summer of 2000, I found myself unemployed. In radio, you don't just apply for jobs blindly. There has to kind of be openings and stuff. So things kind of moved around here a little bit, and I had some connections and friends already here, like Renee. And so I sat down and expressed my interest and they expressed theirs, and so we worked out a deal. And so since September of 2000, I've been at KFOG.
Oh man, there have been so many great memories here. I've enjoyed the past couple of years in August on Friday mornings when we go out and broadcast live and getting to meet the Fogheads and stuff like that.
In the early days, our studios were at Ghirardelli Square with windows that opened, a view of Alcatraz. It's absolutely beautiful. And I had the windows open one day. It was right in the middle of a break, and the Blue Angels were rehearsing. I didn't know about it. And eye level. And I'm not sure the language that came out of my mouth, but it's like, and then I thought, oh, it's okay, they're ours. They're on our side. We're safe.
I remember calling up Paul McCartney on the phone, getting him ready. We did an interview with Paul McCartney, but to call the studio he was in London and have him pick up, and then I put him on hold and he was whistling. I was like, wow, I can't believe that I've just talked to Paul McCartney.
The first Kaboom as an employee of the station that put on this great event, and looking up at those fireworks, I was blown away. That was the moment I was like, wow, this is a cool place to be. Great moments are, of course, Local Music Month. There's so much great music here in San Francisco, and to have, a station that backs it up, and to be able to be a part of that is just fantastic.
I did an interview with David Bowie, and it was a private concert that we did at Fantasy Studios, and Bowie was, when I was a little girl, I wanted to marry him, so I was so nervous, and I was so excited that when he used that voice and said, "Good morning, Annalisa," I just went, I've waited my whole life to hear you say that. And then the rest of the interview was crap, but just the fact that that I got to be on the radio with David Bowie. There's a lot of dreams come true here like that.
Well, I wouldn't call this my fondest memory, but it certainly is a family tale in our house. I worked right up to my delivery day, both of my girls, who are now teenagers, one's in college. The first one, the one in college, I was still doing overnights, but full-time, which in the city, you have a lot of listeners, people doing third shift, hospitals, etc. Well, I went into labor at 5 a.m. during a commercial break, and the morning man, who was a famous morning man, M. Dung, not known to being on time much of the time, was supposed to have already been there, but he wasn't. So I had to literally put on Low Spark a High-Heeled Boys by Traffic, which will buy you 12 and a half minutes. Called my husband and said, I'm going into labor, I'll be home soon, but I gotta stay here till Dung gets here to take over at 6. So I hung out, leaning against the wall going, very slow start. I could change records and stuff until he got there at 5 after 6. Did he get a licking? Did he get a tongue lashing? You never want to hold up a woman who's in labor by not showing up on time for your radio shift.
Well, the anniversary of KFOG is right around September 11th, and I remember coming in on September 11th when it happened, and I had no idea what to do or what we were going to do. That was probably the most unusual day ever in my life personally, and broadcasting without a doubt. And so I asked our program director, what do I do today? And he said, there's news all over the place, and there's no lack of information. If something happens, again, talk about it. But he said, really, probably our best thing to do is to play music for people and just to kind of get out of the way. And that was a really good decision because it was good for me to do, although somewhat difficult. And I remember that day getting lots of calls just thanking us for the music, and nobody criticizing us for not turning into the news station or running some network newscast or something, but just thanking us for playing the music that we do.
Sounds real corny, but I think KFOG listeners really feel that they are of a kindred spirit with each other and with us. And that's very rare in anything anymore these days, but especially within mass media like a radio station. Just unheard of. We're so lucky.
Our listeners are amazing. It used to be if I had to do remotes at other stations back east, you'd kind of fear it. Here, I've met new friends. We truly have nice listeners, smart listeners, cool, funny listeners.
It really is a community, and that is totally what makes the station unique.
The Fogheads provide, for us in the morning show particularly, the Fogheads basically are the show. We interact with them so much. At the end of our 4 hours on the air, when you've gotten so many emails, some days hundreds of emails, people chiming in about one thing or another, That's what gives me the most satisfaction, when things work.
Feed the babies who don't have enough to eat. Shoe the children with no shoes.